Good morning, folks. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We're going back to that horrible world known as the JRC. We're going to try to keep it short and sweet because I got 3 videos to do, folks. 3 of them. Yes, look at my mess. I regret nothing. We're going to shoot through these real quick. Afterwards, I got to... Pool day, folks. Pool day. I've earned it. Alright? Alright. In the description box, go into the disclaimers. You're going to find a link to the article that the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read. It's written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics. Allow me to adjust this. Excuse me. And blah. Allow me to start over. You're going to find a link to the article that the Judge Rotenberg Center doesn't want you to read. It's written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics, wherein they interviewed and surveyed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so-called behavior modification program. Matter of fact, the JRC doesn't want you to read this article so much, they have threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. Well, folks, NeuroClastic has refused, so you know the drill. Please read the article and share it on all your social media. Also included in there is NeuroClastic's public statement regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding in case the JRC actually sees through with their threat. Also included in there, the Ozark's first article in regards to the Agape boarding school, now known as Stone for Help boarding school situation, a so-called Christian-themed boarding school based out of Stockton, Missouri that takes in so-called troubled male teens, that has and pending over 21 civil lawsuits, claims, and allegations leveled against it, all which have been substantiated by the Missouri Department of Social Services, and they include the following: sodomy, rape, sexual assault, child abuse, psychological and emotional abuse, child trafficking, starvation, and that's just for starters. You have 1 former staff member arrested by the FBI, another a doctor still on the premises with full access to the boys, up on multiple, again, substantiated claims of sodomy, rape, and sexual assault of the boys there. You have an attorney general too busy trying and failing to defund public libraries, as well as chasing after drag queens to, do this little thing called his job. And you got a governor off his nut. So please read the article, share it on all your social media. Also included in there, as always, all the pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign, including Autistic Hoya's massive archive on the subject, Jennifer Masamba's behavioral sheet of shockable offenses, a clip out of the 7-hour ordeal undergone by Andre McCollins back in 2002, the templates, and the ever-present self-explanatory change.org shut the Judge Rotenberg Center down petition. When we discuss the JRC, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, folks, please go ahead and use those headphones, alright? This channel, trigger warning, is marked not for children for a reason. We use profanity on occasion, and we speak on dark subjects. So if your child is 16 and younger and they are watching this, very obviously parental supervision is very much advised. Another trigger warning. The article that we are reading is from the New England Law Review, written in the summer of 1988. It is slanted very much in favor of not just JRC, then known as BRI, or Behavioral Research Institute. It's also very much in favor of Aversives, period. These are individuals who feel like we should be punished for things we have no control over, instead of, the logical step of finding out what's triggering the behavior. Be prepared to be triggered. I know I'm going to be triggered. I'm going to try to keep it brief, but we'll see how it goes, alright? Okay, where we left off last night. Alternative Resolution ADR. This is under Modified Alternate Dispute Resolution and Settlement of Family State Disputes. is most often recognized as an integral part of labor management jurisprudence. With chronic docket backlog and rising costs, however, ADR is being advanced as a means of private arbitration, encompassing everything but criminal cases. It is a process focused on solving controversies without recourse to self-help or formal adversarial procedures, or promoting efficiency and preservation of relationships. I'm going to be blunt with you. If you stick my ass inside the JRC and I survive and get out of that hellhole, there is no more family relationship. Can we be blunt here? We're blunt on this channel, right? It is my right as an autistic to be as blunt as a brick through the window, so let me just say that. If you stick someone like me, or even so much as support sticking someone like me inside a hellhole that tortures people like me and is guilty of 6 dead kids, if their blood is on their hands, and you are telling me that you're going to stick me in that place, if I manage to survive, what is there going to be to preserve? We're done. Over. There's no relationship. None. None, Massachusetts. Do you hear me? None. I would never speak to those people again. I wouldn't even be willing to live within the same hemisphere of the country as those individuals. They would be ghosted as though they never existed in the first place. And being friends with other neurodivergents who've been horrifically abused or sent to torture centers like that, those whose parents fully still support their decision to have them be brutalized, and there is an alarming amount of us who have been. In fact, I have yet to find a single individual who is neurodivergent, especially within my age group, who has not been traumatized either by the medical model or otherwise abused, who would continue to preserve such relationships after survived those situations. Okay? There's forgiveness for the sake of ourselves, and then there's being stupid. Because if they stick you in a hellhole and still support it back then, who's to say they won't try and rip your autonomy away and force it on you again? Once bitten, twice shy? Yeah. There is no preserving of the family unit when you take one of your most vulnerable and put them in a center like this, where they abuse and torture you with impunity, with no one having the power to stop it, and you continue to support it and say that they made you better. There's no relationship to be had with that person. That person doesn't care about you. They only care about themselves. And the only reason why you got sent there is because they are wanting to be forced to be normal by any means necessary, and they do not give a damn what it costs you. They don't care about our rights to self-autonomy and self-determination. They do not care if we consent or not. They don't even care if we're not self-harming. Let's be blunt here, because I've worked in this field, and there are some individuals who do not care whether or not we are completely fine being as we are. Those of us who aren't self-harming, but because we may stim once in a while, or because we're blunt as a brick through the window, this somehow makes them embarrassed. So their comfort and their peace of mind and how their feelings is prioritized above our well-being. I've seen it, folks. I've seen it over and over and over again. There's no preserving those kind of relationships once we hit adulthood and are able to take full autonomy and decision power back to ourselves. These are the individuals you ghost, block, and pretend don't exist for the sake of your own sanity and sense of self. Okay? Them's be the facts. But let's read on and then we'll finish up with this video. However, there are some situations where, because of the nature of this dispute and the conflicting interests of the parties involved, a court-directed and approved mediation would permit a more harmonious and long-term settlement. This comment proposes that court can't supervised ADR is the appropriate means by which to resolve family-state issues. Here we go again. These are individuals who are trying to preserve a unit, even when it is a unit that doesn't deserve to be respected. Let me kind of elaborate on this before we close out here. But we want to make sure the family lives in harmony. The family, the family, the family. How that word has been used as a bludgeon to pigeonhole autistics into traumatic so-called treatments that forced us to mask, all in the name of family. Now, am I coming down on family? You bet your ass I'm not. I love my family dearly. But there is a difference between a family that respects and accepts you as you are and will work with you on those areas that are actually detrimental to you when it comes to being able to live independently. Those who support you, who help you with your medical decisions, not make them for you, help you with them. There's a massive difference between that and a family that is more wants. They want to form a family that doesn't really exist. They're stuck in leave it to beaver syndrome. Okay? And then the autistic is born, or the person with disabilities, and all of a sudden their fragile little fantasy family life comes crashing down. Now, who gets the blame for this? Is it the parents who went through the birth? No. It's the person with the disabilities who end up having to pay the price for shattering these people's idea of the perfect family. Because we don't fall in line. Because more often than not, we can't fall in line. Or we can and mask 24/7 until we can't anymore. And then you get to deal with the autistic meltdowns, autistic burnout, what have you. Because it is exhausting to pretend to be someone else for the rest of your life just so you can get the love within your family that you deserve as being a member of that family, regardless of how you came into the world. See what I'm saying here? The idea of preserve the family no matter what and by any means necessary has been used as an excuse that has abused and traumatized generation after generation after generation of disabled people. this general idea that still lingers from the past, that we must preserve families, that families are the ideal, are not living in real reality. Because the real reality is not every family is a wholesome one or a healthy one to continue to be a member of. Some families are abusive and toxic. Okay? Abusive and toxic. Some families are unrepentant in being abusive and toxic. What is there to preserve? This is what they call in divorce courts irreconcilable differences. I know it's a completely different topic, but that particular term works extremely well here. I have dealt in situations in my capacity in my state job when I still worked there, Missouri Department of Mental Health and Developmental Disabilities, where the families were very much not making decisions within the best interest of the disabled consumer that I was there to represent. Part of the reason why my position was created in the first place was so that there would be someone there that was solely on the side of the consumer. Not the parents, not the schools, not what everyone else wanted, but to be solely on the side of the consumer themselves. Because we understand reality. We understand the concept that preserving a unit which is toxic and abusive does an infinitely more harm than good. That there are times when the state not only should have an interest in it, but should act. Okay? The reason why OFC acted in the capacity that they did was because no one else would. No one else had the stones to go up against the BRI, who even then was raking in $1 million off of our pain and suffering every single year. They were not meeting, even for 1980s, the bare minimum requirements in order to continue to be able to be operating. They were violating the human rights of those kids in alphabetical order. They were not meeting the standards that every other group home and program within the state of Massachusetts were meeting. That is why they chose to refuse to reissue their license. Because that is why they exist, one of the many reasons. To act as checks and balances to these programs. Do you want to know what would happen if offices like mine didn't exist and these programs got to do whatever they wanted? The alarming amount of us who die at places like this and by abusive family units would even be higher than what it already is. This law student thinks you should protect the family unit regardless of the cost, but they're thinking inside a box, inside a lie. Okay? That's what makes things like this dangerous. When you make general assumptions like this, you are putting our most vulnerable at risk. Because not all parents make the best decisions for their kids. Abusive parents exist. Toxic relationships exist. Being traumatized by the medical model itself, I can't even begin to get you started on that subject, or this video would go longer than it already is. What I'm trying to do here is bring you into reality. What I've seen in my own capacity of my office back then, what I have seen with my own eyes. You see where I'm going with here, right? I've been doing this a very long time, folks. This whole thing basically works as a means and a way to target us as being at fault. Now, they try to use words. We know it can't be your fault because you're disabled. So, we're going to put you in a treatment program where they will torture you till you agree to be normal. That way we can preserve the family unit. No, we don't care how psychologically damaged, how filled of trauma, how much PTSD and number of other mental health issues you have to face, just as long as you act normal to help preserve our image of family. This is what we're up against. Yes, even in the year of 2023 out in Massachusetts. This is a state that likes to pass itself off as progressive and woke. But when you pull back the onion layers, all you're going to see here is a mask. A mask that is used to cover up the atrocities that is committed against disabled people in that state and people coming in from other states every single second of every day. And we're going to close out on that. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time, folks. And as always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. Bye-bye, everyone.